swag. Turn on your transistor radio. It's our favorite program. Hooray!
This is Cursed Earth Radio.
Hello once again, Jews, Judda, and unjustly jailed extreme sports maniacs. You're listening to Cursed Earth Radio, the one and only broadcast bringing dread to the dreadless.
Broadcasting outside the walls of Mega City 1 across the Atlantic from North America. I'm Cool Johnny Cool.
And I'm Heavy Metal Kid, and today we're going to tell you about the story of Chopper, a legendary sky surfer on a quest.
For the greatest prize of all, the championship of Supersurf 10.
We're taking a look at a seminal Judge Dredd story known as Oz. Written by John Wagner
And drawn by more artists than I'm going to name right now, you're listening to Cursed Earth Radio.
Keep listening, creeps.
The story of Oz is an interesting one because it brings to light a lot of cool characters that are very important to the two of us, in that Necropolis is one of our favorite story arcs. Yep. And this introduces some really important characters and events that go into Necropolis. But as a story, I think we've agreed that it's a little long-winded.
It's a little long in the tooth. I know being a serialized weekly story, you got to keep the reader hooked. So you've got to keep that thrill going every week. But reading it in one giant chunk, it can be cumbersome.
You have two things going on in this prog. There's the story of Judge Dredd and the Judda, which to me is the meat, and I think we both agree that's kind of what we come to Oz for. What you also get is the story of Chopper, who's this famous sky surfer, which is interesting and cool, and it kind of connects everything.
26 episodes over 199 pages that ran from the 24th of October, 1987 to the 16th of April, 1988. And a ton of artists pushed pencils on this one. Cliff Robinson, Jim Baikie, Greg Leach, Brendan McCarthy, Will Simpson, Steve Dillon, Barry Kitson, and John Higgins.
It's interesting, you go back and you look up, who's this person that wrote this? I don't know who this is. I thought this was John Wagner, and I looked it up, and it's a pseudonym for John Wagner. So we start out with the story of Oz, and the idea, Johnny, is that Supersurf 10 is taking place in Oz, which is Australia. Supersurf is a sky surfing tournament because in Mega City there's tons of strange sports, including...
We have fatty lifting.
Flab lifting, sir. That's the technical term is flab lifting.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Where you just get together, a team of one or two men, and you lift fat people up into the air.
For fun and profit. Televised.
Oh yeah, televised, and we think, this is pretty crazy. You know, I can't imagine a world where they put something like this on TV, and then you flip your TV here today, and you see My 600-Pound Life.
Yeah.
You see The Biggest Loser, and how far off are we from these bizarre sports?
We're one belly wheel away.
For sure. I mean, honestly, I think I watched something like curling, and it's. I certainly recognize that curling is a sport that takes a lot of skill. But it's so absurd.
Yeah.
So I don't know. The sports in Mega City are really...
You need, I think, a spectacle to distract you from the hellscape, the concrete hellscape that you live in Mega City 1.
And a lot of times it involves fat people.
Yeah. And you got, 70-some% unemployment in Mega City 1? And you've got to just keep people distracted so you don't get block wars.
Take a little trip around the internet, you're going to see lots of competitive eating. As much as being living here in the cursed earth of the United States of America, we might read something like this and say, they just think all the Americans are fat idiots. Well, we kind of are.
Yeah,
I am.
It's definitely not so much a comic book, more so a prophecy.
It certainly is.
It's a roadmap for where we're going. And before we get into this, we got to talk about this helmet.
Oh, the opening two-page spread?
Yeah, look. And the Dredd's helmet is very much Batman's ears. It's some artists like Frank Miller draw them short. Kelly Jones would draw them real long. Dredd's helmet is every bit as iconic. You can tell the artist just by the helmet, like Brendan McCarthy.
Brendan McCarthy does a pointy dick helmet.
He does. Well, you show me a helmet in 2080 that isn't a pointy dick.
This one that we're looking at looks more like a toaster on Dredd's head. I like it.
It is a good 5 inches off his face.
This is, and you always, when I talk about my love for Mean Machine's tentacle claw, what's the term you say, 80s sci-fi or something?
That 80s British sci-fi.
I love that. I love that art style, and this encapsulates that.
It's pretty absurd, and that's saying something considering Dredd.
As we get into the story, we learn that these weird sports are taking place in Mega City, and sky surfing, Johnny, is big. It's like when everybody gets obsessed with the World Cup here in the United States. We love it, and we can't stop watching it, and then we forget about it.
Yeah.
And that's what sky surfing is at the time in Mega City. And this whole prog focuses in on how the media spotlight can create legends, can create villains, and can really cause the entire nation, and sometimes, like with the Olympics, the entire world to become obsessed with something, and then when it's over, they immediately forget about it. So what's going on is Mega City 1 is gearing up for Sky Surf 10, which is taking place in Australia, Oz. The citizens of Mega City have started this campaign that's getting bigger and bigger to free Chopper. Who's Chopper?
Chopper is the premier sky surfer from Mega City 1. He had won 3 Supersurfs back to back to back. He's a living legend. He has done things that no other sky surfer has ever done.
He shot the fox backwards.
He did. He one and only.
What is shooting the fox backwards?
That is sky surfing down from a height, down onto a speedway against traffic.
It's a death wish.
Yeah,
to do that.
And Chop's done it.
Well, at this point, the reason that the Mega City citizens are clamoring for Chop to come back is because there's a hot new sky surfer on the scene, Jug McKenzie.
Oh, Jug. And there's that 2000 AD. Nice wordplay on the then current spokesdog for Bud Light, Spuds McKenzie.
It's obvious that Mega City 1 is obsessed with pop culture from the past, which is why they have like Toby Hooper block.
Yeah.
That's why this guy is Jug McKenzie, because it's like, oh yeah, it's like an old name that they used to use back in the day, you know.
Like Gertrude, you know, Jug.
Yeah. It's like people naming their children Apple. I legitimately had a conversation with someone today, and they said that they met a young child, whose name was SSSST. No. Forrest.
I don't want to live on this planet anymore.
Exactly. So how far are we from Mega City 1? We're living there right now.
And you got to respect Jug, because Jug is wearing a t-shirt that says Jug.
Well, and he's also won Sky Surf 8 through 9.
He has.
Yeah, he's a good sky surfer, but there's this debate. Well, if Chop ever came back, Jug would never win.
Yeah, it's like as you would the NBA, LeBron versus Michael Jordan in his prime.
Absolutely.
You know, or Tyson versus Ali.
We find out that Jug's personality is a little bit of a braggart. And
he's kind of the stereotypical Aussie dunderhead.
He's full of himself, and he has a quote here when he just got away with words. He says he's hungry enough to eat a rancid roux through a cane chair. I don't speak Oz, but I get the gist of what he's saying.
That's charming. That's Hallmark card right there.
He also says that if Chop ever came back, he would have less of a chance than a marsupial in a microwave. But nevertheless, Jug is living in the shadow of Chopper, and he has to prove himself. So I think I get the sense that Jug does want Chopper to come back. He's cocky enough to believe that he could beat
He buys into
Chopper.
the hype of Jug.
But Chopper's got a problem. Why can't Chopper come back?
Chopper's in the cubes.
He went away for sky surfing illegally. Because right now, sky surfing is sanctioned in Oz. But I have a feeling that sky surfing the fox backwards in Mega City is going to get you put in jail.
We're 5 clicks off from just happiness being illegal in Mega City 1.
And that was a part of the idea of this story, is that Mega City 1 is such a depressed, unhappy, miserable place that something like sky surfing, something that brings the city together, brings nations together, it's the people's hope.
Yeah.
They need Mega City to win Sky Surf 10.
They need something to rally behind.
So Dredd, when we start this story, we see that Dredd is busy dealing with graffiti artists spray painting Free Chop.
Chopper for Oz.
There's an uprising happening, and the Justice Department is aware of it, and they're sort of trying to nip it in the bud, because they know that as this Sky Surf 10 gets closer and closer, they realize that they need to transfer Chopper to a safer facility sort of outside of town. And unfortunately, that's where things start to go wrong.
Yeah, you got the crowd outside of the block he's already in. They see him coming out. And why they let Chopper carry his own board out for transfer is beyond me. That doesn't seem like a very Justice Department thing to do.
And inevitably, as they're transferring Chop...
The crowd surges. On the scene at the time is only Dredd and Chopper, so crowd surges, pushes Dredd down. Chopper uses the chance, gets the key off Dredd, unlocks his handcuffs, he's on his board, and he's gone.
And he heads to Flip Tillis.
Old Flip.
And this is when we start to realize that the character of Chopper is a much different kind of... takes a different approach to sky surfing than someone like Jug. Jug's in it for the fame. It's something that he does to get attention. It's something he's proud of. But for Chopper, this is the only serenity that he has up above the clouds of the chaos of Mega City. He's passionate about it. This is the only thing he's ever been able to do that can bring him any sort of peace.
Kind of like Rodney Mullen used to be from the Bones Brigade. Just being able to skate freestyle was where he felt alive and felt free.
And he's a true master of his craft.
Oh, definitely.
He's in his own world. He's in his own zone. He's laying on his back, painting the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel, immersed in his art. As Chop goes back to visit with this kid, Flip Tillis, we find out that Chopper's mom never really believed in what he was doing. She gave all of his stuff away to this kid, Flip, who I'm assuming was a big fan.
In a fish substitute box, which that's more Mega City grimness. It's pike flavor.
Oh, God.
But yeah, Flip's got all of Chop's gear in this box. He's got his spare batteries, his sky surf suit, and Chop makes a decision then and there. Only one thing forward. He's got to go to Oz. And what's the trip to Oz for Chopper mean?
It means a long journey through the cursed earth.
And we are going to take that journey with Chop, and we are going to see some stuff.
We're going to see the Mexican Birdman.
Oh, we are going to see the hell out of the Mexican Birdman.
The first thing that happens once Chop decides he has to take the trip into the cursed earth, because staying in Mega City is a trip right back to the cubes.
Yep.
He gets all of his old stuff and he heads off to try and make it to Sky Surf 10, which is an absolutely insane goal, on a surfboard with, half power, with very little rations.
Yeah, and I think, so the people who aren't reading, they get the gist of it. Mega City 1 is the entirety of the east coast of North America. From, I think, New York down to somewhere like Georgia, Florida. And it's, in between there and California is the cursed earth. Mega City 2 is out in California, and it's just an irradiated wasteland in betwixt that Chopper has to cross with only his skyboard.
And the first obstacle that he has to pass is the West Wall.
Yeah.
And this, just getting to the West Wall is an ordeal. Getting over is an even bigger obstacle. He manages to do that basically unscathed. It's like a covert mission. He's trying to go unnoticed.
Yeah, you got the ducking, the dodging, the flying low with traffic, dodging the guns, and then he makes it. He's over the wall, out into the cursed earth.
Meanwhile, our friend Flip Tillis is being interrogated by Dredd, and most definitely goes to the cubes for at least 5.
Do you think Flip's on Chop, or do you think he...
No, I don't think he does, because at this point, Flip sort of symbolizes the youth of Mega City, who I truly believe already see Chopper as being this folk hero.
And Flip is a martyr for Chop now.
Chopper is the one that made it out. He's the guy, he was able to rise to greatness like so many other kids in Mega City always dreamed of, being the best sky surfer. He escaped the judges, and
which you're never supposed to be able to do.
Right.
So he is definitely the cause célèbre for the downtrodden of Mega City 1 now. So we see Dredd. Dredd's got Flip. He's taking him to the cubes. The reporter, she's asking Dredd about Chopper and if Chop really escaped. And Flip, being the defiant youth, breaks in and starts screaming to the reporter, Chopper's heading for Oz. He's going to beat that loudmouth McKenzie. And what does Dredd do on camera?
Dredd knocks Flip in the head with his day stick to send a message to the masses. Although I have to say, Dredd probably contributed to the rise of Chopper by beating this poor young kid with his day stick on national television.
Yeah.
But Dredd's sending a message, and he also says the Justice Department isn't going to waste our time and resources trying to track Chopper down because we're going to let the Cursed Earth have him.
And there's a lot of things in the Cursed Earth that can have him. So
this is Dredd creating a dilemma for the Justice Department because now that he's said this, if Chopper survives, he's a god.
That's going to bring a lot more people to the conclusion that, hey, if Chop did it, I can jump the wall too. Chop survived the Cursed Earth. Why couldn't I?
But ahead of him is a journey of 16,000 Ks across the Cursed Earth to Oz. Chopper presumably has been on his long journey for a while, and he stops to take a rest, and this is where he gets his first tiny little taste of the insanity of the Cursed Earth as he's attacked by
God knows what. This because up to this point he's been high up in high altitude to stay off the rad, and he came down to get a bite to eat, and these just disembodied horror show hands shoot up from the ground, try to grab him. They grab his board. He tries to escape, and I still want to know what these hands are.
I wondered if they weren't attached to some sort of crab-like creature, or are they your evil dead, demonic weeds? Who knows?
Yeah, but they try to grab Chop. He escapes, and then he gets his first real jolt of, oh, the Cursed Earth is kind of gnarly.
And now I can't even stop. Just to stop and take a rest,
I'm dead.
So now Chop's got to make his way all the way through Memphis, across the Rio Grande, and on to Oz.
And this is where we start getting the various sighting reports of Chop, almost like Elvis in the 80s in the Weekly World News. He's at the grocery store. He's at the gas station. Chop's over in Memphis. No, he got taken down in the Alabama morass. He's there. He's here. He's there. He's everywhere. He's the Cursed Earth Santa Claus on a skyboard.
Everyone's on Chop watch. So that leads into issue 5, and Chopper facing his greatest threat so far, the Birdmen of the Sierra Madre.
And my God, what a just batshit wackadoo chapter this is.
But before we go to the Birdmen of the Sierra Madre, Johnny, I assume that you've heard the old adage, an apple a day keeps the doctor away?
I have.
Well, I've got an alternative for you.
Okay.
An umpty a day keeps the judges away.
Why?
Well, because it's legal, of course.
It can't be.
It's absolutely legal for the time being, and what better way to show your wife, your husband,
Your robot with a speech impediment?
even your robot with a speech impediment, what a better way to show your love for that person than with an Umpty Candy gift basket. You see, the fine folks at Umpty Candy offer a wide selection of candy, gum, and Synthosoda in all different flavors.
I love Synthosoda in all different flavors.
Well, you can get your loved one or yourself a gift basket that will delight your taste buds. From Umpty sweet treats to delectable Umpt cakes and the one and only Uncle Umpty's Umpt Cream sandwiches.
It's gotta be good, because it was so good, they shot Uncle Umpty into space.
Well, but the new owners of Umpty Candy aim to recreate the taste of classic Umpty Candy, but with only half the calories. So if you go to umptycandy.com and type in the promo code CursedEarthRadio25, you will get yourself 25% off your first Umpty Candy order of 100 creds or more.
Shut up and take my cred.
And I'm sure they will. But they want you to remember, at Umpty Candy it's more than just candy, but it all tastes just like candy.
Hail our corporate overlords.
Well, thank God that's over. Let's get on to the Birdmen of the Sierra Madre.
Look at this giant catastrophe. I love it.
It's hideous, it's weird, and it's the first appearance of Brendan McCarthy's beautiful and absurd artwork.
I love it. I want a whole prog about this Birdman and the Sierra Madre.
I would love to know their backstory. However, I don't really see this ever being something that they bring back.
I know.
It's fine. It's totally fine. But in today's climate and world, someone would be offended.
Because they are written like a caricature of Cheech and Chong.
They speak like this. Hey, Gonzalez, claws off. I see him first. And now it's spelled like this. I see Heem first.
Heem.
I see him first.
It was a different time.
These guys are awesome.
So we've got a bird body with a man face with a thick mustache, wings that end in hands with claws, and then he's got lobster pinchers on for feet, and he is benippled.
How many nipples does he have,
He
Johnny?
has 6 nipples.
I like that you counted these nipples.
Brendan McCarthy did such a good job rendering these nipples. I feel it would be a disrespectful thing to not.
Do birds have nipples?
This one does.
And it has a mustache.
It does. And so do his buddies.
So Chopper is being pursued by the birdmen of Sierra Madre.
Oh god, it's
through
more
the
vivid on the
entire
next page.
Prague, or through the entire Prague.
Yeah.
It's just 5 pages of Chopper trying to escape these comic relief mutant 6-nippled birds.
5 pages of Sierra Madre Birdman madness.
And it's totally amazing.
He almost gets fed to the young bird minlings. And they are starving, Papa. Hey, Papa, feed me. And Chopper has to not get devoured by these mutant babies.
All the way through this entire story, for me, every time Brendan McCarthy's artwork pops up, it's almost like they took the important issues, the real important ones, and they gave them to Brendan McCarthy. Because of the Cursed Earth stuff with Chopper, like we said, there's a few that we probably could skip or make a little bit shorter. I know there's one you really love coming up. I don't think that's Brendan McCarthy, but this one is the standout, the weirdest, and Brendan McCarthy's artwork is amazing. His automatopoeias are incredible. Just the way that he renders those.
Everything looks like it sounds. It's so good. Chopper beheads a birdman with his board. It's so visceral, and the onomatopoeia rock. I hope if I ever get beheaded, I hope that's the sound that comes out of me.
I'll let you know. Well, how would I let you know?
Get a Ouija board. But yeah, it's just 5 pages of madness in what has thus far been a procedural crime drama.
If you're listening to this podcast and you're not reading along, please take a break, Google search Birdman of the Sierra Madre, and just take a look at what we're talking about. It's incredible.
It's one of my favorite parts of the entirety of Oz.
It's so weird that it's unforgettable after you read it the first time.
It's so jarring. Like, it just comes out of nowhere.
And then finally, at the end, we get 1 page of glorious, glorious, dick-shaped Judge Dredd helmet by the way that only Brendan McCarthy can do it.
It's so good. And I like that Judge Dredd is at his desk. Joe has a desk. Because we never really pictured Joe off the street. But yeah, I guess he's got paperwork, and this is apparently where he does that paperwork.
You would think that in the future Mega City, with all the technological advances, that he would have like a robot sidekick that would do that.
He did.
R.I.P. Walter. But yeah, so Dredd is sitting at his desk, and this last page just lets us know that Dredd is aware that Chopper's made it. And he's aware of Chopper's folk hero-like status, and he gets it. You know, this is giving hope to Mega City, so now Dredd has something on his hands that's a little bit more complex than an escaped prisoner. This is the potential for an uprising, the potential for riots, and if nothing else, Dredd is always weighing, what will be the bigger catastrophe in this scenario.
The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few.
Yeah. So that ends that Prague, which is basically just Birdman craziness, and takes us to Chopper on the beach.
Yeah, he's made it. He's made it to Mega City 2, presumably past their walls. I doubt he even went in. He probably went around their south perimeter.
He's got 11,000 Ks left.
With he's only got one battery at this point, right?
He's struggling.
He's out. And we get some harsh life and death in nature stuff as he wakes up on the beach.
He's facing the hard facts. He's down to his last power cell. He's down to his last sandwich, but he can't go back. At this point, it's not even feasible for him to do that.
No, he'll die.
Oz is really the only place left.
Yeah,
for him.
it's straight out into madness or stay here and die. So.
And you've got to describe for our listeners this circle of life moment that he has.
Yeah, so Chop wakes up on the beach, and there's a clutch of turtle eggs that hatch, and Chop gets to see the miracle of life. But then we see under the ocean as the turtles make it to the shoreline, they're just getting ripped to pieces by these other denizens of the deep, crabs and larger predators. And Chopper sees one little fledgling turtle, and he picks it up, and he realizes that, oh yeah, I can do this. And he gives the baby turtle, he puts it in the ocean, and thinks he's doing the good thing. And Chop heads out, all hopped up on good emotions. And the next panel, we see that little baby turtle get eaten by a giant tooth-filled beast from the deep, because Mega City 1, no happy endings. But back in Mega City 1, news has made it to the public that Chop is over the Pacific now. He has done the impossible. And this guy is giving Dredd a hard time at a traffic stop. And he said, that's one in the eye for you guys, huh? And the guy's not watching, and he drifts out in the traffic and causes a gigantic pile up. So we see Dredd take this guy off to the cubes, and the guy is still like, I don't care, man, Chopper for Oz. He's buying in. And Dredd knows, and he says the creep's still got a long way to go. So I don't think Joe, at this point, believes he can make it the whole way. He's made it out to the Pacific, but I don't think Joe believes he can make it all the way to Oz.
Well, there's only one man that made it all the way through the cursed earth.
Yeah.
Well, there's two.
Well, yeah. And Joe walked the last couple miles.
So no matter how much of a folk hero Chop becomes in this story, he still hasn't matched the stamina of our friend Judge Dredd. But then again, he's not a clone.
No.
So the end of the Chop hanging out with the turtles brings us to the place where this story really starts to take legs.
The real story.
The real story, back to the Brendan McCarthy artwork with the Easter egg colored, crazy, insane cult motherfuckers known as the Judda.
And we've got dudes in dick-shaped helmets.
Oh, so many dudes, so many dick-shaped helmets, which you know is the mark of quality when it comes to 2000 AD.
You know you're reading 2000 AD when there's dick-shaped helmets all over your page.
So we've got the first appearance of the Judda, and this is the part of the story that is the most visually exciting.
These fucking guys. They've got a flair for the dramatic, I'll give them that.
And you are holding the case files currently with the black and white artwork, but in the progs, the progs, you got to see them in all of their pink, purple, pastel glory.
I love the fact that they are these murderous creeps from who knows where, but they're festively colored. So they teleport in to the Department of Justice, and they have a hit list. They're looking for Judge Bruford first. And they track him down to the firing range. And Bruford doesn't know that these guys are coming. He's been in the range firing what looks to be a gigantic bazooka, because why not? And they teleport in behind Bruford, and the next page we have is this beautiful splash page of Judge Bruford dissolving in fire.
And we find out that Bruford is just one of a few individuals that they have on their kill list. And that kill list includes 3 other judges.
Yeah, you've got Defoe, McNamee, and our boy Joe.
So what is it that links these individuals together? And that's sort of the mystery that we're trying to figure out as the reader. But this is like Brendan McCarthy's best shit. Period.
Oh, it's great.
Lots of gore, lots of murder, people melting down, and these giant killer monstrosities crossing people off their lists.
And they've got Kiss-like platform boots. I love it. They go after Dredd next on the list, and Dredd's in the middle of a bust. And fortunately for Dredd, unfortunately for the guy he's busting, his perp ends up being a human shield, which saves Dredd. And Dredd takes a couple shots at him with the lawgiver, and the Judda just deflects everything with his magical barbecue fork.
And they call Dredd an imposter, which
and the devil.
It starts to set off this questioning, if you're the reader, of what is the connection. You know, they're obviously targeting specific judges. They're calling Dredd an imposter and the devil. So what did Dredd do?
Yeah.
I mean, Dredd's done a lot of things in his time as a judge.
The list of people who would want to kill Dredd is pretty long.
After Dredd takes out, Dredd and the Justice Department formulate a plan. Dredd finds out that they're going to hit these other judges, Defoe and McNamee, and they're trying to stop it, but unfortunately they fail.
Defoe gets set on fire on the toilet.
That's a theme with 2000 AD. People in the shower, people in the toilet. Judge Dredd in the bath being attacked.
There's a lot of bath expirations.
And the big twist as we, kind of go on through this storyline is that we find out that they DNA scanned the corpse of the one that Judge Dredd boot-knifed. And they determine that he's a clone and shares DNA with Fargo, Rico, and Dredd. So this is someone from the Fargo line.
That 50-50 Fargo line.
We'll get to that. So as a reader at the time, it's this big revelation that there's a whole sect of judges that must have split off. Something happened that we don't know about.
It almost puts you in mind of so we know the dark judges exist, and they are grim parodies of Mega City 1 judges. And these guys are festive parodies of the Mega City 1 judges, but every bit as lethal.
I love the combination of the most insane, benign-looking costumes, but the most brutal methods.
It kind of puts me in mind of Killer Clowns from Outer Space. I'm not even... that's exactly what I think of when I think of the Judda.
They're amazing.
I love them.
So you have this prog, and then you take another break with Chopper going against the elements. And this is where the story... I really just want to follow the Dredd versus the Judda. And the Chopper story is important in this, but we get a lot of it.
Yeah, I think we get more of this than we do of the Dredd Judda, which is the meat.
Yeah, and this next prog is really, to sum it up real quickly, it's Chopper against the elements. He's surfing through a hurricane. He's facing his destiny. And there's a moment where Chopper flies up and he challenges the storm to take him. He's now fully kind of realizing this legendary Sky Surfer status and defying nature itself to take him out, and it can't. He survives through it. So we get a little bit more development with Chopper just sort of fully buying into his role here, still being followed by the press.
Yeah. And speaking of the press, back in Mega City 1, the coverage is still up for Chop, and they're talking to anybody and everybody who has even the most tenuous connections to Chop, including Wipeout Jones, whose name would lead you to believe that Wipeout Jones is not a top-flight Sky Surfer. So,
he's the B, C, D, as far as you can go down on the list. Probably Mega City's next hope because there wasn't anybody else.
Yeah. If this is Saved by the Bell and Chopper is Zack, I'm guessing Wipeout Jones is Screech.
Oh, God, yeah.
So, Wipeout Jones gets his 15 minutes of fame on TV. He tells everybody he thinks Chop's dead, but he's going to go Supersurf 10 in his stead. Who cares? But then we have possibly my favorite name in all of 2080. We go over to Oz, where Jug McKenzie is getting interviewed by Barreled Grego. Barreled. Fucking barreled.
It's Mega City for you.
So, yeah, Jugs is weighing in on how he feels about Chopper and his quest to make it to Oz. That all leads us to Dredd's arrival.
And Dredd gets to Oz and immediately realizes that this is nothing like his Mega City. Oz is a laid-back place. He meets his liaison,
Judge Bruce!
And Judge Bruce starts out by joking with Dredd and basically saying, hey, we're more laid back, but you've got privileges here, so, feel free to shoot someone if you like, ha ha ha. And then they get buzzed by a Sky Surfer, and Dredd shoots the guy in the leg and renders him unable to compete in Sky Surf 10. So we're immediately seeing that you can take the Judge out of Mega City, but you can't take the Mega City out of the Judge.
No sense of humor in those Fargos.
A portion of the story where we're introduced to all the competitors from all over the world. It's just like the Olympics. We even see that the Sovs have their version of Ivan Drago in there.
Yeah, I love how he has Russian handlers.
He is very clearly engineered this machine of sky surfing that's going to come in and take over. I kind of wish we would have gotten like a Rocky kind of vibe, Rocky 4.
Oh, that would have been great. And who shows up at the end?
Wipeout Jones.
Hanging on to that 15 minutes because he's got some tenuous connection to Chopper. And they have some big melodramatic Viking funeral.
Oh, because Wipeout Jones has been going around speculating that Chop died. There's no way he could have made it, man. Too bad for him. I guess I'll just have to compete in his place.
What a dick.
So they're having this hero's funeral for Chopper, which only contributes to the legend because of course, we know that Chopper's not dead yet. He just defied the elements. And when the media finds out, they're not going to say, oh, it turns out we were wrong. They're going to say, he's back from the dead.
He's Christ. He is risen now. But now we get to one of my personal favorites. And I know you're not too down with this.
I like it. I just think it's one prog too long.
I'm going to ignore what you just said and keep going.
So Chopper is shipwrecked, quote unquote.
Chopper's caught in a maelstrom, and he finds a ship on the ocean in this maelstrom, so he decides to hit the deck and get out of the weather.
He hits the poop deck.
And the ship is completely abandoned except for the robot cook.
And this robot cook is so diligent that even though the entire ship's crew is gone, he just keeps on making these wonderful gourmet dishes.
Yeah.
And luckily, he has some to serve to our pal Chopper, who's famished from being in the sky this entire time. You can't even land in the cursed earth without getting attacked by crab monsters. So thank God for this chef.
Yeah, he's been on peanut butter sandwiches since he left the Big Meg. And I love the fact that Cook, the robot, has the speech impediment. He has a pirate voice, and I absolutely love it.
Would you really say that's a speech impediment, or is that just an aesthetic choice?
I'm going to say impediment. I'm going to say he walks in the line of Walter, where he is another impediment robot. So, through the course of dining, Chop is talking with the cook, and he asks about the crew, and
we as the reader know what's happening.
Yeah.
It's very clear what's going on here.
So, Cook just tells them, oh yeah, gone. They hated me and they hated my voice, which is a sin. And we find out the Cookie's a little schizophrenic, so we now have a robot that is a speech impediment, and he's also schizzy.
We realize that what's going on is Chopper is eating man.
Yes.
Chopper is an unwilling cannibal, and Cook starts to think that Chopper hates him too.
I think Cook assumes that everybody hates him. He's got a programming flaw. So he's trying to now put Chopper in the pot, because he's going to start serving Chopper to nobody in particular. There's a whole big chase scene with Chop and Cookie. I love it. Chop's board gets damaged in the fracas. Chop tries to lock Cookie in the galley. He tears his way out. Whole big Scooby-Doo chase. And then Cookie and Chopper ends up hitting Cook with the flare gun, sending him overboard in a fireball. I'm sad to see him go. I hope he comes back at some point.
It was 2 progs worth of story that should have been one. It was fine.
It was fine.
But it brings us back to Chopper finally hitting Oz, and he gets a hero's welcome. That was his last obstacle. So I guess if you're going to put his last obstacle before he gets to Oz, go ahead and give it 2 progs.
A robot cook with a speech impediment.
He returns to fanfare. Chopper has made it. The Christ figure has finally made it to Oz, and Mega City's hope is here. Even Jug McKenzie, gives Chop a welcome, because I think to whatever degree that there may be competitive nature between the two of them, they respect each other as being sky surfers, and all of the competitors are excited to see Chop there.
The whole world is excited to see Chop there, but one guy isn't.
Dredd's not too happy.
When is Dredd ever happy?
Dredd is there to apprehend Chop, or so we think.
Yeah.
And all of the sky surfers rally around him and say, if you apprehend him before he gets to surf, we're all going to forfeit, and you're going to have an angry city, an angry nation, an angry world on your hands at this point, because everyone's invested. The Sovs are going to be angry because now we're not competing. So you have almost the threat of another nuclear war.
Yeah, you've got a political powder keg here. If Supersurf 10 doesn't happen with Chopper, the crowd there is into it. They're almost on the verge of riot against Joe. And then it turns that the Oz judges are also not down with Chop getting arrested. The Oz judges arrest Joe, which I believe is the first time has happened.
And they basically say, look, Dredd, we understand your position, but we're not trying to deal with a full-scale riot. Plus, the kid made it here. Let him surf. And they take Dredd into protective detention. All of this happens under the watchful eye of the media, which only sort of galvanizes all of these citizens to say, Chopper, he beat the law twice.
Yeah.
And send Dredd off to send him off to detention because everyone hates Dredd.
And so Chop's a living legend, and the entirety of Mega City 1 gets put their thumb in the eye of Judge Dredd as he's getting arrested. But then, here come the Judda again. So, start of the next prog, part 14, we open up on Joe being assaulted by a murderous Easter egg.
What we find out in this prog is that Dredd and the Justice Department and Oz and everyone, they're sort of working together, and they're using the media to broadcast that Dredd went into protective custody so that the Judda would know his location, teleport in, and they play right into Dredd's hand.
Mm-hmm.
So as much as everyone out there believes that Dredd has been apprehended against his will, it's all a play, and it works. The Judda come in to attack Dredd. He's ready for them, and carnage ensues, and they manage to take one of them alive.
1.5. We got one dead, one in a coma, and then they riot foam Zalman, which is, I really should have named my daughter Zalman.
I'm glad you didn't.
Oh, think of the power that name has. So they've got Zalman riot foamed. They got one unconscious, and then now we get a look into what the Judda are and what the Judda are about.
And it's really important because we start to see the psychology of these guys, and they start chemically interrogating Zalman. He's basically a clone of Dredd from the Fargo line, and so we see him unmasked. And that was kind of something that I wondered was, are we really seeing the face of Dredd?
That's a good question, because as a clone, is he a complete duplicate of Fargo, the Fargo line?
So I don't know. I tend to say yes. If Rico is a clone of Dredd, then maybe what we're seeing is at least the closest thing we'll ever see to Dredd's face.
Mm-hmm.
But while he's being interrogated, we hear for the first time the name of Morton Judd. And we really get to dig into who the Judda are and where they come from. And where they come from is Morton Judd was the head of genetics at the Justice Department, and he was a member of the Council of Five. And as they were cloning judges, Morton started to have this insane idea that, well, we can clone judges, but we can also clone citizens, and we can create this perfectly obedient society. It's almost that biblical thing, at least, where Satan fell
and took a third of the legion.
Of the legion with him. It was that kind of thing. So there was this coup, and he attempted to push his will on the Justice Department and create these citizens.
Yeah, he attempts to kill Fargo.
And this is the point where we get a little glimpse into who Fargo was, and we get to see some of his wisdom. As Morton Judd is proposing this, I thought it was important that they have Fargo basically saying it's the duty of a judge to serve. That's our prime directive.
And how far we've gotten from that.
Yeah, and that's it. We now have this society that in the name of serving their citizens, they're just pressing them down beneath
under
their boot.
Yeah. And this is the first time we ever see Judge Fargo depicted in a prog.
Yeah. And the idea is that Judd wants these complicit cloned citizens, and Fargo's saying that can't be the outcome. But it really is the outcome.
Yeah.
It's the outcome now. And the fact that we've seen a glimpse into the misery of Mega City and Chopper's plight and all of this stuff, it just shows that we're still there. We're still trying to create complicit.
Yeah, docile.
We're just going at it from a different approach, and so it's cloning through a whole nother medium. It's just creating this society that has to do whatever the justice system says, or face imprisonment, execution. Yeah. So Fargo exercises his veto, and
sends Judd off the deep end.
And Judd takes quite a few people with him. He takes some of the judges. He takes some experts in cloning, which is like a protege from the justice systems, who's one of the brightest genetic minds that they have. And he also takes a ton of genetic material.
Yeah, but before he leaves, he tries to assassinate Fargo. And you see clearly that a lot of Judd's followers are just shot down by Fargo and some of the other senior judges. And Fargo says that, we're going to publicly execute Judd. And That's when Judd absconds with the genetic material, never to be seen or heard of again.
But now seeing the effects of all of the cloning and genetic research that he's been carrying out wherever he's been in these members of the Judda, Zalman being interrogated, he continues to refuse. Even though he's under chemical influence to talk, I'm assuming it's truth serum, he's fighting it. And he has this internal dialogue that's important because Judge Kraken in Necropolis has a very similar internal dialogue where Zalman is saying, I'm Judda. I have to show them that I'm stronger. I'm Judda. Rather than talking, rather than spilling his guts, he gives himself a brain hemorrhage.
That's dedication.
And we see that same dedication from Judge Kraken.
And we do, and we are going to argue about that.
I can't wait. So that takes us to prog number 16. Dredd is going through the teleporter and into the Judda lair.
Yeah, he's got the teleporter off Zalman, and the Aussie judges think that maybe we should test this. But what does Joe do?
He's going right
Yep,
through.
we're in.
And that's pretty much how he handles anything and everything. That's how he handles the Dark Judges for the first time. He's going through, or he's sending something through to kill everything.
Yes, and so Dredd teleports into the Judda lair. They've been busy, and I love their dedication and flair for the dramatic. They have carved an entire temple to Judd and the Judda.
And we find that to sort of continue to brainwash his judges, and I'm assuming the society he's trying to create, he's also not only just using cloning techniques, but he's starting to bring religion into it. He's made himself into this Christ figure.
Yeah.
And he's made the other members of the Council of Five dread anything that symbolizes the system that turned him away. They're the devil.
Yeah, and they say that many times throughout the story, that you're the devil, you are false.
And that's what creates the kind of dedication that would make someone choose killing themselves versus talking about, Morton Judd, is the insane religious quest. I'm fighting for God.
Yeah, I have righteous indignation.
They're not only facing super Easter egg colored clones, they're facing religious fanatics who are willing to die for their cause.
God, I love their color palette.
So that's 16, and it basically takes us into the lair of the Judda. Leads on to the next prog, which is Dredd on the run as he's sort of been chased down by the foot soldiers of Morton Judd, and he's realizing there's no escape, but he's there, and he's got to find some way to get the information back to the Justice Department of Oz that this is where the lair is. And he finds sort of a MacGyver-esque solution.
I love this part. He grabs a bat. He's up in this rock shaft. It's too narrow for him to escape, but there's a giant bat flapping around. And so he manages to catch this bat in midair, put his tracker on the bat, and let it go. So hopefully this bat flies up and out of wherever he's in, and the Oz judges can track it and find Dredd.
So the bat makes its way back to the Justice Department of Oz. Dredd is apprehended and taken before Judd, and we just see more of his Christ figure sort of mentality that he's put into his soldiers. He tells Dredd that he's essentially his creator. I was the mastermind behind cloning. And Dredd pulls the old Maury Povich. Anybody can be a dad. Not everybody can be a father. You know what I'm saying,
yeah.
Johnny? Basically,
yeah.
Dredd tells him that any monkey can shake a test tube.
Yeah.
This basically is set up to end with the near execution of Dredd, but it's interrupted when the Justice Department cavalry arrives, and they rush in to save him.
They find the bat. They track the bat. They find out the judge dug into Ayers Rock this entire time. And Oz does not hesitate. They send out their H-Wagons, and then they just start laying into Ayers Rock with heavy artillery.
We get some fighting between the Judda and the Oz Justice Department, and we get a nice little interaction between Judd and Dredd. Judd says, "We stand on the brink of history," and Dredd tells him, "You stand on the brink of a fat lip," and knocks his ass out. The more I read these things, the more I realize that he's just full of dad joke-like comments.
Totally. And I love the fact that the Oz judges really just heavy ordnance onto Ayers Rock. They know Dredd's in there, but they don't seem really concerned with collateral damage.
Dredd is known for going in ahead, and he knows the risks. And again, it's the greater good versus the individual. The greater good is always going to triumph, even when Dredd is the figurehead. But he's really not the figurehead of Oz. He's the figurehead of Mega City 1.
Yeah.
So. And I don't think many of the judges of Oz really care for Dredd that much.
He's definitely the fly in the ointment for Oz.
So he ends up going back to the Justice Department while this raid is taking place at Morton Judd's place.
Well, he ends up heading off the Judda because while everything is coming down and their world's crumbling around them, Morton Judd wants them to go to Mega City 1 to take care of the final piece of the plan. But Dredd gets to Mega City 1 first and gives them a heads up that, hey, the Judda are coming, and the Judda beam him right behind Dredd into a bombardment of bazookas in the Justice Department.
It's the end at this point. Morton Judd's still holding out for whatever damage he can do, but Dredd has a much bigger plan up his sleeve.
What's Dredd's ace in the hole?
It's the nuke. It's always the nuke with Dredd.
We're going to send a nuke back? Dredd's running through the Justice Department as the Judda are pouring in. So there's a firefight behind him. He's trying to get to the armory. Kicks the door open. Tells the judge in there to prime the nuke and set it for 10 seconds. And the judge in the armory has no idea what's happening. I'm pretty sure he's certain that Dredd's just going to blow everybody up. But he does it, and they get that nuke, and they strap the teleporter that Dredd got off Zalman onto it, and send it right back to Ayers Rock.
We get a lot of carnage with Judda doing their best to hold off the judges. Some of them are panicking and teleporting back. What they don't know is that the entire complex is a nuclear wasteland, so they're teleporting in retreat and immediately being incinerated by the flames of the nuclear onslaught there.
Oh, I love it.
Dredd even remarks during this portion of the story, he kind of respects something that they have, the dedication that these soldiers have. That if things had been differently, that Judd would have even made a good Chief Justice if he hadn't gone this insane route.
Yeah, complete crazy with it.
So that takes us into Supersurf. So Dredd has sort of vanquished the Judda onslaught, and that's where I sort of check out.
Yeah.
This has a great ending to it and everything, but for me, the meat of this story was the Judda.
Yeah, and this is definitely... I felt the same way about DC's Hush. And if you haven't read Hush, I'm about to either save you some time or spoil the hell out of it. 12-issue arc about this villain named Hush from Batman's past. And in issue 10, we finally get a reveal they've been teasing this whole time that it's actually Jason Todd under the bandages. And it was amazing because Jason Todd was one of the only characters they kept dead. And I'm enthralled. I'm in. This is amazing. What a great payoff. And then it turns out it's just Clayface. And there are 2 more issues to go to resolve the story, and I straight don't give a fuck.
I think one of the differences, though, is that this has a good resolve.
It does.
But it's then like, okay, oh yeah, we still have Supersurf.
Yeah, it's the also ran.
And
so
you can't do this giant story arc with Chopper making this huge trek through through the Cursed Earth, and then end Supersurf in one prog. So we've got 4 progs to go.
And not that I hate the ending, because I hated the ending of Hush. And that thing, DC can kiss my ass.
I second that for so many other reasons.
It was just that the Judda, it was such a bigger part for me. Like Chopper and Supersurf were all the smoke screen for Dredd to track the Judda and to shut them down. And you still have Chopper being the folk hero for Mega City 1, and Mega City 1 has this glimmer of hope on a skyboard in Oz right now.
We finally get to see Chopper in his element, and he's amazing. But we also realize that Jug McKenzie is amazing as well.
Yeah.
And so they're pretty evenly matched. And I think at this point, everyone in Oz, I think everyone all over the world, they want to see Chop win.
It's that underdog story. I mean, even Dredd tells Chopper to go out and win for Mega City 1.
Even if Dredd doesn't care whether or not this Sky Surf 10 ends with Chopper the victor or Jug or whatever, he realizes that this might be something good for Mega City if you can give
For
people
once.
one reason less to riot.
Yeah. Because I think Dredd knows that if this goes sideways, he's going to have a full-scale riot in Mega City 1. If he intervenes and arrests Chopper, if he in any way taints the outcome of Oz, then the Justice Department is going to definitely be the enemy.
So you've got a few progs where it's just interplay between Jug and Chopper, and they respect each other. And it's exactly what you think it would be with, the other competitors sort of falling behind. It's Jug and Chopper. They take a detour through Gasoline Alley, which is just a factory full of flames and smoke.
It does kind of have a Death Race 2000 feel to it, but in the sky. There's all kinds of hazards. Sky surfers aren't just falling out of the race, they're falling out of existence.
I guess it's exciting if you were really invested in the Sky Surf story. I didn't find myself particularly invested in the race itself, more what happens. To me, I would have been fine if this would have just resolved quickly. I understand why it didn't. The big twist here is that when we finally cross the finish line, fair and square, it's Jug.
Yeah.
Chopper's right behind him, but Jug wins. So as they move in, we realize that, oh, wait a minute. He's a good sky surfer. But as much as it seemed like Grud and the universe and everyone was behind Chop, it really just came down to, he was outsurfed by Jug.
Jug was better. And we see Chop lose. And then we see the citizenry of Mega City 1 simultaneously. Like somebody throws their TV out the window in frustration. And it's the same old story. Everybody bandwagons on. And everybody's always been a fan. And then when the sports team eats it and fails, everybody's off the bandwagon. So Chopper's a bum now. Chopper's no longer the folk hero. Dredd can pretty much do whatever he wants with Chop now.
And Dredd tells him, looks like you're yesterday's news. Dredd understands how the media works.
Yeah.
He's obviously been dealing with it long enough that he was playing the media in the Justice Department's favor. Anyways, you get the sense that Dredd wanted to see Chop win, and even tells him, I was rooting for you.
Yeah.
But you're coming with me.
Yeah, you got to go to the cubes now. But Chopper isn't having that.
No, and you've got this standoff. Dredd knows that he's going to run. Dredd doesn't want to have to do what he envisions he's going to have to do, which is kill him.
You can see Dredd is burdened by his duty. There's no joy in what he has to do, or what he thinks he's going to have to do.
And now we see that Chopper also is burdened by the fact that the only thing he can do, the only thing that is not a prison for him, is sky surfing, and he's at least going to try and make a run for it. And just as we think that we're going to get that classic downer 2000 AD Chopper dies for nothing, we find out that Dredd may be in favor of Chopper going back to the cubes, but not everyone is.
And who swings in like Errol Flynn in the Robin Hood movies?
Jug McKenzie.
Look at that. Jug's not a bad guy after all.
He's not. He might be a dick.
Yeah.
But
he respects Chopper.
Yeah, he respects Chop, and he flies in and clips Dredd. Before Dredd can blast Jug McKenzie off into nowhere, the Oz judges, including Judge Bruce.
I love Judge Bruce.
They come in and they're like, look, Dredd, you're a dick. You're a stick in the mud, and you're in Oz.
You have no authority here.
You're not going to shoot Chop. You're not going to shoot Jug. You're headed back. We're sick and tired of your shit.
They kick him off the island.
Dredd's really unhappy about it.
But what? Okay, so Chop escapes, but what is Chop's happy ending?
He decides to go back out and surf the fucking wastes.
Yeah, he's over the wall in Oz into the Radlands.
But that's really where he found any purpose for I feel like through the journey of Chop and what all of that set us up for was that he was a god out there.
Yeah.
He was against the elements, and whether or not he won Sky Surf, he realized that they're really the only place for him is he could stay and continue competing and maybe be the guy that wins, but that's not enough for someone who's purely doing this for the thrill of it. He shot the fox backward. Winning Sky Surf 10 is nothing compared to being the guy that shot the fox backwards, but now he's the guy that survived Cannibal Cooks, Mexican Birdmen. He survived whatever the fuck those weird claws were. He survived the storm. and he's going out to live that life of a legend.
He is larger than Supersurf. And he's already won 3 times. He doesn't need to win it again. He's proven that he is bigger than that. And so, off into the Radback at the end of Oz. And we see Chop again once or twice.
And it's not that, even saying that I felt like some of this prog could have been cut or it was a little too long. It's not that the character of Chopper, it's just the length of the race.
Yeah.
Because the character of Chopper is cool. It's interesting. It's somebody that has a passion in a city that just sucks that right out of you.
We can all identify with that.
Yeah,
we might not all be sky surfers, but we know that feeling. And just the whole thing is called Oz. And what it's really about for me is the Judda and Dread. And Oz and Chopper and Supersurf are just the dressing around it.
Yeah, it certainly sets up a lot of important stuff for Necropolis, which is both of our favorite prog or our favorite story arc ever. But when you have a world like the world of Judge Dredd, you need all of these sort of characters that are alive, and it's cool that Chopper comes back because that life that populates Mega City is so important, and Chopper's a symbol of hope, and he's a legend. That's why he's going to continue surfing. Even when he dies, there will still be those legends that someone saw Chopper.
Yeah, he'll be Elvis in the tabloids in the 80s, They'll see him in Memphis. They'll see him out in the Oz Radback.
Yeah.
He came back to Mega City one man. I saw him.
And so that closes out this story. It sets up a whole lot for future stories with regards to what the judges will face, what's coming for the Justice Department, and the cloning story. But for us, it ends here, and we'll get into more of that later.
There's going to be an argument, and it's going to be great. So until next time, this is Cool Johnny Cool.
This is Heavy Metal Kid.
And you've been listening to Cursed Earth Radio.
Keep listening, creeps.